And hello and welcome to the Metabolic Balance ANZ podcast. This is where we share real stories and insights to help you know more about metabolic balance and personalized nutrition. And I'm your host, Cherry Wills, and I'm delighted to welcome a Metabolic Balance client who has who's going to share her journey with us today, Sue Johnson from Brisbane. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Sherry. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to hear from you because I don't know anything about your story yet. So, first of all, a big thank you. And can you paint a picture of what led you to even inquire about metabolic balance and find out more?
So as I got older, I just noticed that
So, how old are you? So, just
I'm
so
40, I'm 44 now.
44.
So
Okay. Yep.
yeah, so probably just before I turned 40, I started noticing that I just wasn't feeling as well as I used to. Didn't have as much energy as I used to, and then more and more foods seemed to not agree with me. And definitely a gradual process, and sort of you'd hear a mix of things like, "Oh, that's just what happens when you get older," and
Oh,
and that
those
sort of thing.
awful comments. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
for
Yeah.
your age, right?
Yeah.
For your age,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And that was building, and I would talk to girlfriends about it and say, "Oh yeah, me too, me too." And then I went to the doctor, and I thought, "No, I can't. Surely it can't be like I can't just accept that this is what it's like for the rest of my life." So I went to the doctor and tried a few different things, including FODMAP, which worked for a bit and then stopped working. And then I mentioned it to a friend one day, and she said, "Oh, you need to go and do this metabolic balance. This is everything you're describing, exactly what I had. I did it. Completely fixed everything. I can't believe how much better I feel." Like, that sounds great. Let's do that. So that's how I ended up here.
That's amazing. So, so then you reach out to Sharon Carriers, your
Mm-hmm.
practitioner in Brisbane, and then sort
Yep.
of, what happened? Talk us through.
Yeah. So Sharon and I had an initial phone conversation, and she explained the program to me, a sort of warts and all version of it. She was great. She was very honest about what it would be like, because she's done it herself as
Yeah.
well. So she was speaking from experience as well as her, God, goodness knows how many years as a dietitian. So very, very much coming from a place of personal experience and knowledge. And that came across, and I felt comfortable with her, and and she wasn't pushy at all as well. She's like, "But how does that sound?" I was like, "Yep, that sounds great." And then you have your initial consultation, and I think there's about 7 meetings altogether.
Yeah. Cool. So where were you in terms of your key goals? So you mentioned that you had foods that weren't really agreeing with you. Gut health, was that strong?
That was significant. I'd say pretty much by the end of every day, I was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was cutting out things like gluten, did celiac test, definitely not celiac, so cut that out, as it turns out, unnecessarily, in some other foods as well. So just uncomfortable all the time, and even to the point where I felt like I was saying every day, "I just don't feel well today."
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just those niggly things. Like, yes, I probably could have just kept putting up with it, but I didn't want to.
And what was your weight? Did you have, were you holding on to more weight than you needed to?
No, it was never about that. I was
Cool.
66 kilos
Yeah.
going in. So yeah, Sharon said, "Oh, how much weight do you want to lose?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't. It's
Yeah.
not about that.
No,
It's
good.
more about feeling better
Yeah,
again." Yep.
awesome. Okay. And what about headaches or any kind of sleeping? Was there anything like that you were experiencing before?
That was a big surprise to me, because I hadn't connected the two things. I've always had a bad back, so I just accepted the headaches as part of that. But as I went through the program, it dawned on me one day. I was like, "I haven't had Panadol in like a week," which is huge for me. So that was a really nice, unexpected, positive outcome as well. So didn't realize that was part of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you started on the program, which was you had your blood test, you got your plan, and and you initially got going, were there any challenges that you would say that you would share? Anything that was difficult?
So there's 8 rules that
Mm-hmm.
that are part of the program, which makes it easy and clear. But one of them is 5 hours between each meal,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't realize what a big snacker I was until
Okay.
that was taken away. And upon reflection, the wrong sorts of snacks as well. I'd say I always thought I ate pretty well, and I did, but now I realize it was those in between snacks that I was having that weren't serving me at all. So that
Yeah.
was probably the trickiest part, I think, getting used to that.
Yeah. And now when you look back on that idea of like snacking now, do you even, what would you say about that? Do you want to snack?
Sometimes,
Yes.
um, but what I've come to realize is that I hadn't eaten enough at breakfast or at lunch. Um, because one of the things is it seems crazy, but sometimes you didn't eat enough, which everything that we're taught is no, you eat small meals and you're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
restrict calories, but that's not what this is about. It's about eating enough of the right food so that you don't feel hungry. So it took a little while to get those levels right, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is just what life's going to be like, and went and saw and told my coach about it. And she's like, oh, you're just not eating enough. I'm like, oh gosh, is that a thing? So we
Yeah.
added more food. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. That is one of the wonderful things about working with a coach, though, is that you have somebody to really ask the questions of and give you some of the advice that you need to hear.
I would have at least 10 questions going in, and we'd start with that. She'd go, okay, what have you got for me today? And it was all sorts of random things like,
Yeah.
should I be taking any supplements?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
how do I try gluten again because I miss bread?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can get
Mm-hmm.
that back in. And
Mm-hmm.
can I eat this? And can I eat that? And I never stumped her. She always knew.
Yeah, awesome. So you were then following MB, and
Mhm.
what would you say? We've already shared that you suddenly realized that you weren't needing Panadol for your headaches anymore. What else were you starting to notice?
I did end up losing what I would say is a fair bit of weight, given that I went into it thinking that I wouldn't need to,
Mm-hmm.
or didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I seem to have settled on about 60 kilos now,
Yeah.
um, which is probably the lightest I've been for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another side effect.
Does it feel good though, where you're at?
I feel much better.
Yeah.
Just clothes fit better. I've had to buy new clothes, which is, no one's going to complain about that. So I just handed the perfect excuse to go shopping. So thank you.
You're welcome. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard somewhere along the way you should be eating sort of between 20 and 30 different sorts of fruits and vegetables every week. And I bet you I wasn't doing that, but I am now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
been good. Yeah, I thought I was eating well, but it's much better now.
Yeah. So, what were some of the key foods that you realised that you now love that you weren't eating before?
All bread's back, so that's nice.
Okay. Yes.
I thought I didn't like coriander, but I think everything's just changed and it tastes good now. And a friend of mine will kill me for saying this, but I don't mind capsicum now as well. I was like, oh, no, I can't eat it. She goes, you know what? Let's just leave it on there, see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, it's just, and I honestly thought I wasn't going to make it because I was having such terrible sugar cravings. Like, this is so distracting. It's
Yeah.
awful, but you do get over that hump.
Mm.
And now I can have a piece of chocolate and not have to eat the whole thing. So
That's
that's been really
big.
nice as well.
That's
Yeah, yeah, I feel like I'm enjoying it again rather than I need this, I need that. If I sit down and eat it, I'm it's conscious and I'm enjoying it,
yeah.
and yeah.
I think that's an interesting thing to also delve into, because you said, you know, in the beginning stages, that 5 hour gap was challenging. You had some of the, the sugar cravings, but you plowed through. You kept on going. You knew this was the right thing to do. Is that fair to say? You knew it was the right thing to do, and you knew the good things were going to happen.
I got an instant positive feedback loop, I guess, and then I started to feel better very quickly, sort of within 10 days.
Yeah.
I just felt better.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to keep going. It'll be worth it. And I had my coach as well, but I also had my friend who had done it. So, and she was a big support as well. And I message her and go, oh, you know, this. Yeah, that's normal. Or try this. Or, and also the advice was, you're just going to have to tough it out. It'll be worth it. You're just going to have to keep going.
Yeah, I do I often say healing and getting well and rebalancing yourself from poor food that doesn't serve you. It's not always a bed of roses. It's not, rather is. It's got a few thorns in there. Is probably what I would say. It's the good stuff, but then sometimes it's not going to be just perfect straight away. But you know that it's for the good in the long run. It's not often super easy, but you have the structure. So you've already mentioned that the 8 rules, you really valued that structure that you had. What would you add anything there?
It was just clear, and it's in phases as well. I don't know how much people who are listening know about it, but it's in phases.
Yeah.
So and it's quite clear what each phase is for as well. So that helps a lot, and knowing that it's not forever, and there's a purpose to it all. I think what also helped was something, and I think she probably almost said it, not accidentally, but not realizing what impact it was going to have. She said, we're going to heal you with food and not medicine. And that was really important to me. Like I mentioned the Panadol, I had just accepted that every day I take pain relief. And that snowballs. Eventually, like, oh, well, I just take cholesterol lowering medicine now, and I just take this, and I just take that, and I didn't want to just accept that as the way that it needed to be. And now I know that if that's in the future, I've done everything I can to set myself up. So whatever I am taking really is necessary. It's not that it just was. Like, I know that sounds a bit sort of woo-woo, but that healing with food instead of medicine was a very valid point, I thought, and something that helped a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a really valid point from my point of view, because I often say to people, you don't have a deficiency of paracetamol in your body. As in, you don't actually need to take them every day. It is you take them, or people have to take them ultimately because there is that strong pain from whatever is coming at them. But actually, it's a sign of the pain is a sign of an imbalance, not a symptom that, oh, I desperately need paracetamol in my life, or that kind of thing. so
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so it's an interesting take to come to realize as well, and that moment, I've heard it before many times, but it's that moment when you look back and go, oh, yes, I haven't had that pain anymore. I haven't realized I needed it. Yeah.
Or I've slept for 8 hours for the last 7 nights. That's nice. Normally I wake up and be buzzing for an hour or two. Just all these little things that we were saying before, you just accept it as part of getting older or whatever, and then they go away again. It's like, oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So where you are now, you have released that extra weight. That often I say that's inflammation and that's excess water, so that we're actually really balanced you into a good place. The headaches have subsided. You're sleeping well. You've just mentioned that. What else are you noticing?
I've had a few people comment on my skin as well. So I didn't necessarily notice that myself, but a few people have said that. So that's been another bonus as well.
Yeah. And your energy levels?
Probably yes, but also because I've been sleeping more. So there's that sort of snowball effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
eating better, so I'm sleeping well, and I've got more energy. And I have had an iron transfusion in the past, and I'm hoping because of this I won't need to do that again.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
we'll
Yeah.
find out. But I'm eating more meat than I ever have, which seems wild. Like eating more meat, got more oil in my diet. Both of those things that we're taught, no, you need to stay away from them because they're not good for you. Should contribute to those energy levels as well, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about sort of work and clarity of thought and that kind of thing, focus?
Question. Not that I've noticed, but I've always been kind of a busy person anyway. So
Okay.
I continue to be a busy person.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. And if you were to be talking to somebody like you, who's maybe thinking that this and thinking, okay, I can relate to, the gut issues that you've shared, that the feeling just unwell and lousy and not really been able to pinpoint anything, and you've tried various different things before, what would you say to
Mhm.
them about whether to give metabolic balance a go?
Well, I've said to a few people I probably need to calm down a little bit because I'm telling everyone that they need to do it. Um, I just sort of talk about it. It's a short amount of time to completely reset everything. And then you can continue living your life knowing that you've always got this thing to go back to if you need it, or if it's flu season, right? So if you become a little bit unwell, you've got this
Mm-hmm.
phase two or phase three that you
Mm,
can go back to, and it'll always help you
mm,
reset. And just that, if ever I hear someone say, "Oh, as you get older," that's when I find that's a good conversation. It's like, yeah, I thought that too.
yeah.
This is worth trying.
Yeah. It's the knowledge you now have, basically, isn't it? You can't take that knowledge away. You've got the knowledge.
It was one of the things I said to Sharon. She's like, "Oh, what's one of your goals?" And I said, "It's to have a much better understanding of what food is doing to my body because it just wasn't something that was talked about a lot when I was a child, and I feel like there's a lot of shame wrapped around food and what it can do to our body, and often there's a negative connotation. And I've got two girls now myself who are entering teenage years. So I feel much better equipped to be able to talk to them about it in a positive way as well, and using the food as fuel and nourishment. And if if we go and have McDonald's on a Saturday night because we want to, let's go and really enjoy it and not feel bad about it and all those other things that are wrapped around it because we know that most of the time we're doing the right thing for ourselves rather than the sneakiness that can often exist around it as well. Like it's a huge topic, but that is important to get a better understanding of that.
I love that. That's one of my passions about really trying to get across that when you understand what you need to do, the vast majority of the time, you actually can be in a much more centered place to make great decisions, and then sort of almost own the decision without this, like you say, this awful feeling of shame that is somehow thrust upon us in society. It does, and it's crazy. Yeah,
It really needs to start with kids and just
yes,
reframing it
yeah,
completely. I think, and
and
it's that's a really big topic.
yeah,
It's so
but you
important.
feel now that you're in a better position to do that because you've got this knowledge of what good food for you.
And it's modeling the right behavior as well.
Mm,
Like I'm not, I I talk about it a lot and at home in a positive way, but and they see me doing a lot of meal prep. Like that's another thing you need to get used to as well. And you can see how processed foods completely taking control because it's so much easier
yeah,
when you're busy. So it's carving out the time and prioritizing it. So just by the nature of the family, they're seeing that more as well. But
mm-hmm,
it does start good conversation too.
yeah.
And you just get used to it. It's fine. That was a bit of an adjustment as well, but
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's the investment in your time in your health that means that you actually get the good sleep, you get the pain free, the happy gut. All of that stuff is an incredible return on that investment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely worth it. I probably missed out on watching an hour's worth of TV. Like I'll live, you know.
Yeah, I remember actually hearing. Oh gosh, you just triggered a memory in my head. But there was a end of life doula was talking. It was years and years ago. I heard this lady talking, and she was just saying, you never hear somebody at this lovely old age saying, "Oh, I wish I'd watched more telly," or
Yeah,
I wish
right.
I'd spent more time scrolling social media. Oh yes, I regret that so much. What you regret is this time that you have with your family, the time that you actually, you remember the good times with great food and feeling good. You don't regret missing out on, oh, I feel so tired, I've got to go to bed times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
In that same sort of vein, what's one thing that you wish you'd done? I wish I'd invested in my health more.
yeah,
Um,
that's it.
so yeah, it's good to take those lessons.
Yeah, yeah. So that's thank you so much for sharing. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I'm so thrilled that you're able to now feel so much better. And I have to say, I'm particularly thrilled at what you were sharing about sort of supporting your girls too, because it is that the ripple effect, I like to say.
Mm.
And
Yeah, yeah,
when
good point.
we, and I think it really comes when we do help a mum or a dad,
Hmm.
because they then, you can't help but then pass it on, and everybody just gets on better. Relationships are better.
Hmm.
Everything just has that ripple effect. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, and
No,
I would
pleasure.
also love to, maybe invite you back, because I'm always like wanting to also hear how people do the long run. So when did you finish MB? When did you do the program?
I moved into maintenance, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, so
Awesome.
not very
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's maybe have another chat in, I don't know, 12 months, 2 years time. I would
yeah,
love
great.
to see how you're
Sounds
doing.
good. Yeah,
And
thank you.
yeah, and thank you ever so much again. Really appreciate it.
A pleasure. Thanks.